Well, Thursday nights is a program where we really try to highlight a story. It's your story. It's my story. And tonight, the caption is Hollywood or Heaven. I met Dino Andreadis actually 30 years ago. Now, I'm going to keep a little secret as to where we met 30 years ago, but 30 years ago, I met this man. And knowing him today, the incredible path that God has taken him is absolutely amazing. But he has a testimony that began even as a little boy with a dream growing up. And I'm encouraging you as you watch and listen. We're going to open the phone lines in a little bit, and really what I want to propose to you would be this. Whose dream are you following? Is it something that you have a desire for and a passion that you're going selfishly toward? Or have you allowed your life to simply be given over to Christ? Die to yourself and say, Lord, whatever it is you want me to do, I will do. The testimony tonight is going to help bring credence to that. But I want to welcome to It's Your Call, Dino Andreadis. Dino, welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you. It's a joy to be here, Rob. It really is.
Well, we're looking forward to getting to know you a little more in your journey and your pathway. But, you know, Dino, it all began when you were just a little boy.
Yes. At
home. And so, just for a viewing audience, we're just going to sit back and enjoy you telling your story. We'll do some interaction. And then in about 20 minutes or so, we're going to mention the lines will be open so you can call in. But, Dino, just take us back to when you were, I think, 4 or 5 years old. You kind of had this little dream going on. And let us know how that dream worked its way out.
Well, thanks, Rob. I was just a young boy, and my father, my parents actually, we ended up going to Quebec City. My father worked for Canada Steamship Lines, and there was like a cruise, and I didn't know exactly what to expect at 5 years of age, but in one of the evenings, there was some entertainment for the people, and there was this huge band, and the song "Let's Twist Again," like we did last summer by Chubby Checker. I don't know if you're familiar with that. You probably don't know this. Some of our viewers might know it. It just did something to me, and I just found myself right in the middle of this dance floor, and I started doing the twist. It was a dance. I just picked it up. I don't know exactly how or what, and started dancing. And everybody thought I was part of the entertainment, and they were throwing money.
Oh, really?
Money on the floor, and I didn't know really what was going on. My parents were freaking out. They said, well, "What is this?" And it was a big hit, I guess, and that was my initial experience.
And that actually paid for the trip.
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe my trip. I'm not. But that was my first experience. I don't know if I had a dream at 5 years of age, but this seemed to pave the way for something a little bit later on in my life.
So, now, obviously, that's kind of that's really interesting because it's kind of cool how even at that age you had some DNA in you that God had planted, obviously, because that was going to be used a little later on. So,
that's right.
As you're kind of going through your junior high years, you get into high school. And then things started to develop for you a little bigger and a little broader.
Well, yes, Rob. I was, 16 years of age, and the high school I attended in Montreal, born and raised in Montreal, each year we had a talent show. And this was the highlight of the year. And so they would look for an MC to do this talent show. And of course, it was someone they would hopefully be able to work well with the people and the skits and the plays and the musical productions and all that. And they asked me to do this, and I was amazed, and I wasn't willing in the beginning, but eventually I decided to do it. And they told me that all I had to do was prepare for 15 minutes of improv in case something goes wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, they would have their plays, their skits, their musical solos and what have you, as they would have an early talent show. And they would just prepare for 15 minutes in case something goes wrong with the show. So, wonderful. The first act, something went wrong. One person couldn't come, or someone was late, or I don't know what happened. And I heard the producer, "Dino, get on stage. You know, do something." I said, "All right." I prepared 15 minutes. Well, I did my first 3 or 4 minutes improv. The next production went well, no problem. Then the third and fourth, problems took place. Get back on, and within 20 minutes, I already finished my 15 minutes of improv. To make a long story short, Robert, I probably was on stage about 40 minutes, and a good half hour was just natural, just improv, whatever came to me. I'm not really a comedian, but just did things that whatever I did some skits on my own, some improv, some and the people just loved it. Just loved it.
These are your peers in high school?
These are my peers. I mean, I was set to fail right there.
That's a hard act to follow.
A hard act to follow. Well, what really touched me was at the end of the production, my vice principal, God bless him, Mr. Ray, he sat me down. He said, you know, Dino, he said, I really was impressed, and he said, I think you should go to Hollywood.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe that.
And he was serious.
He was very serious. He had some experience, I would assume. I didn't really talk much with him. And I said, I didn't know what to say. But Rob, after a couple of years, I never forgot his words. And by the age of 18, just turning 19, I decided to take him up on that. And I left to go to Hollywood.
Now, did you finish school?
I graduated, and I went to college, but I never found, I felt, I didn't know what to do in my life.
Right.
I felt empty. I felt I needed to do something, and I wasn't finding it. I didn't experience the things that I felt I needed to continue in my life, and that's when I remember the words of Mr. Ray. He says, "You need," and lo and behold, one day, out of a whim, I decided to go to Los Angeles. I knew absolutely nobody. I didn't have an agent. I just left.
Packed up and left.
Packed up and left. I had some money, a little bit of money with me, and just left on this dream, this vision that started when I was 16.
Wow. So tell us now, you know, you hear these stories all the time, but I mean, you actually decided you're just going to go pack, and you left.
Just left.
So when you got to Hollywood, what did you do?
Oh my goodness, Robert.
Where'd you go?
For 6 months, I was in culture shock, literally. And I was from Montreal, and I lived, you know, a fast-paced life. I was downtown, the night scene. I experienced all that. So, you know, I had some understanding, but when I went to for 6 months, I went through culture shock. I could not believe the people, the vastness, the cars, you know, just the pace of life was unbelievable, just incredible for me. And you know, I just had to pinch myself to realize, am I actually living here? And I eventually found a place to stay. And, but it was very difficult for me in the beginning, absolutely.
Now, did you have to find a job? Or
well, I found a place to stay, and I found a boarding house in Hollywood, West Hollywood. And at that moment, I wasn't looking for a job because I still had some money. I was out to try to find you know, something to get myself in the door, and I didn't know how to do it really until I talked to somebody and he told me what to do. And
this is pursuing acting.
This is just pursuing acting. I didn't have anybody to help me, so I needed to figure out what I needed to do. And that took a few months to really understand that I had to do something about this.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about, so you're there to pursue this acting career. Right. Now, what did you do? Like, I mean, did you met somebody, get an agent? Well, like, how does all that work?
Well, you know, I talked to some people, you know, guys at the gas station or in restaurants who were actors. Everybody's an actor in Hollywood. Yeah. And they told me, Dino, you got to get yourself some pictures, and you need to get yourself an agent. You just don't go and knock on people's doors. You need an agent. And I said, well, how do I get an agent? And they would tell me, well, you need to perform somewhere, and maybe you can go to an acting school, or you get involved in some play, some theater, and invite agents to see you. And if they like you, they'll take you on. I said, but I don't have time for that. Yeah. I need to get an agent now. So how do I get an agent? And then somebody said to me, well, get some pictures done and send them out. And
we've got some pictures, so we're going to get you to keep on talking, but here's a few pictures you can have a look at, folks. Now this is part of your
this is like my portfolio. Card. Yeah, it's my portfolio. They had different looks there, as you can see, and I would send them to agents. In Hollywood, and
there's a couple more coming.
There's my James Dean look. I don't know how James Dean is.
You're on the motorcycle there?
I'm on a motorcycle. Actually, I rode a motorcycle. Okay. That was mine. That was my 350 Honda. Oh. But yeah, and that's the cover of Voice magazine that I was mentioning.
Your Hollywood story.
Yes, my story. So these were the pictures I sent, and I was hoping that through these pictures, an agent would take me on. Now, Rob, what's important is that in the 78, 79, what was going well for me is that the Italian European look was very popular in Hollywood because of John Travolta.
Oh,
He finished a movie, Saturday Night Fever.
Yep.
I think most people might be aware of this. And that just was an amazingly successful movie. And as a result of that, that look, that Italian, European, Greek look became very popular. And so and it was just the right time for me.
Yeah.
And so what happened is that an agent called me up and took me on just by my characteristics.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't no performances, just my look. And
Wow.
so that was my first big break, because to get an agent in Hollywood was extremely difficult. But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I went on a whim.
Yeah.
So it just so happened that I was at the right place, the right time,
Yeah.
and I got myself an agent. And at that moment, things started to look good for me.
To open up for you.
Started to open up.
Now, some of those doors actually began to open up, but then all of a sudden, there was this glitch.
Yeah, there certainly was.
And that kind of led you to pursue, but in that pursuing, God was involved there. But tell us about that glitch, because I find it fascinating.
Well, you're talking about when I wasn't able to work legally.
Exactly.
Well, yes, leaving Montreal on a whim, not having much research in what I was doing, and it was part of my problem when I was young anyway. But I just left this impetuous person. I didn't realize that even if I would land an opportunity, I'm Canadian. I needed a green card, and so I went to see a lawyer. And he told me, he says, if you want to work legally in this country, you have to do, one out of two things. You have to either invest in a business, he said $65,000 or more, or get married. Okay. And so I weighed my options. I had about 25 cents in my pocket at that point. And
now, this sounds like acting to me, but go and tell the story. This is.
But so I said, well, no, I'm going to find a wife. And I was pursuing to get married.
But you're pursuing to get married simply because
to get a green card,
so
yes,
you could work.
So I can work.
So there was
exactly.
But you had a couple of scenarios that you were pursuing, but they didn't really work out for you.
No, well, exactly. I met a couple of ladies, and that night I guess it wasn't the most romantic experience. I mean, I just told them my story, and I met this lady at a place. I won't, I can't go into all the details, but I told her what I was doing and my opportunities, and she was willing to marry me for a certain amount of money.
Right.
That didn't work out.
Actually, they ripped you off.
They ripped me off. I gave her $200. You really want me to go into these details? I gave her $250, and then I never saw her again. So that was my first experience, and it really kind of dampened the whole situation. But no, what happened, Rob, is at this point I was getting great opportunities. You see, and I was asked to do something on television, and so they were looking. So this was serious. I needed to get married. I needed this green card, so I was pressed to do it. Otherwise, I would have missed my opportunity. So I was very desperate to get married because they asked me to do a television series called Vegas, which was was the number one rated television program in the States at that time, with Robert Urich. I believe it was 20th Century Fox that did that, and Gary Schaefer was the casting director.
Okay.
So this was a major opportunity for me, so I needed to get this green card. And so I met another lady, told her my story, and she was interested. Seemed interested, and she was, because I think she wanted part of the apple pie.
Gotcha.
And she was going to move in with me, and everything was set, ready to go. And something amazing happened, Rob. I don't know if you want me to share it now, because if I do, then I'm going to get into the major element of my story.
Go for it. Yeah.
But